So there it is, the AAMI Victoria Derby. Hope we've managed to find you the winner there. Well, one thing I can guarantee that we will find is plenty of luminaries today wandering through the Channel 10 marquee. It's one of the hottest tickets at Flemington, and of course one of the hottest ladies at Flemington is in there. Amongst all the action, Sandra Sully, good morning.
Good morning, Pete. Yes, of course, another wonderful day here at the Marquee, and it is the place to be, you are right. We have a wonderful lineup of stars to catch up with today, including the Sunday Age fashion editor, Anthea Lucas. We'll be catching up with lipstick queen Poppy King, baritone Roger Lemke, a fabulous new group that's just exploded onto the scene called Past to Present, and our very own Sex Life host, Toddy Goldsmith. So I'm looking forward to catching up with all of our stars, finding out what they've been up to, and of course, what their tips are.
And really it all got underway, as we can see last night, Sandra, at the Derby Eve Ball, one of the great traditions of Cup Week.
As is always the case, Peter, this kicks off the week in a wonderful way. Hundreds turned out last night and had a fabulous time. Entertainment was provided by groups The Baby and the Beatles tribute band, the Fab Four. I'm sure some tips were exchanged last night, but I think basically people enjoyed the evening and look forward to kicking off a wonderful week. A couple of bleary-eyed folks around this morning, but I'm sure they'll kick into the day, as it were. And as usual, the Derby Eve Ball seems to get bigger and bigger every year, Pete, as our telecast.
Yes, good to see you're not amongst the bleary-eyed brigade, and we'll look forward to joining you throughout the day.
So do I, Peter.
Sandra Sully, who's in the Channel 10 marquee. Well, we're getting closer. Just over 4 hours now to the AAMI Victoria Derby, $1 million in prize money. As I said, this race 6 years older even than the famous Melbourne Cup. Well, we've got a lot more to talk about. We're going to take a look at the closing races, including the Louis Vuitton McKinnon Stakes. After this break, you're watching Derby Day from Flemington.
Aries, you're off with the winners today. Go for broke and take a plunge with horses' names suggesting academics, maturity and expense. Lucky numbers 3, 6 and 7. Taurus, beat the bookies at their own game today. Go for the third favourites and back horses with names suggesting performers, romance and security. Lucky numbers 4, 6 and 9. Gemini, don't splurge all your money. One horse, one race is your motto for winners today. And look for horses' names suggesting posh, charm and big notice. Lucky numbers 3, 4 and 5. Cancer, multiple wins can be expected. You're running hot at the track today. And back horses with names suggesting ability, danger and achievement. Lucky numbers 1, 3 and 8.
Champion jockey Pat Hyland was kicking himself after the Derby of '86. Hyland chose to ride Drought in preference to Raveneau, a horse trained by close friend Jim Maloney. In a head-bobbing finish, Drought was beaten by who else but Raveneau.
Raveneau and Drought, they'll hit it together. Raveneau, Ronnie Quinton's won the Derby.
It was the Hayes-Clark combination that won the Derby in '88, but not the one you'd expect. King's High, ridden not by Michael, but brother Gary, saluted the judge, giving Gary his biggest success in racing.
King's High's about 3/4 in front. Sir Midas is going to him, won't get there.
The superbly athletic, stylish Century, who had been under trainer Bill Mitchell's care for just 2 weeks, broke the course record in his easy victory of the 1989 Derby. After missing the start, Kevin Moses took the free striding colt to the lead at the 2,000 metres, and from then, the result was never in doubt.
And Stylish Century's going to win the Hong Kong Bank Victoria Derby by 3 lengths.
In the long and proud history of the Derby, no maiden had won this century. That changed in 1990 when Fire Oak gave battling trainer Gordon York his biggest thrill in racing.
What a way to break your maiden status. If he's done it, I think he has. Maybe Fire Oak.
Yes, he did. Fire Oak winning the Derby as a maiden back a few years ago. Welcome back as we continue to look at the AAMI Victoria Derby program here at Flemington. And we're up to one of the classic races, the Louis Vuitton McKinnon Stakes, race 7 at 3:25. The scratching is number 9, and that is Magic of Sydney. We've got a great field of 10 to face the starter, and we're going to have a look at a replay of Falante, one of the class horses of the field. Such a good horse. Here he is in the Cox Plate, hitting the front before the home turn, Jen.
Oh, look, this is a really tough effort here by Falonte. He's a very, very capable weight for age performer. And Pete, last year he had a similar tough run in the Cox Plate and he ran second in this particular race after that as well. I think he's got to be left there with a strong each-way chance once again.
And of course, so too is the winner, Dane Ripper, really.
Oh, definitely. In fact, her run looked particularly good. She went to the line with ultimate ease, didn't she?
What did you tip?
Well, I'm going with number 8, Marble Halls, but I haven't got much between him and Dane Ripper.
Rich, Marble Halls?
Well, I think he'll show some Marble Halls here today, and he'll actually put his hand up and run a big race today. But I was going to stick with Dane Ripper as my tip because I think, you know, she's the Cox Plate winner, and I think it's always hard to go past the Cox Plate winner.
Can you bring some sanity back into this, please?
Well, I was just going to give him a rap, actually, Pete, because he said that the Danehills do handle the ground. So I do think that Dane Ripper can win. I mean, most people, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have taken a set against Dane Ripper today. I think Falonte will beat her, but I mean, her runs have been impressive. She's won the Stradbroke and then she come out and won the Cox Plate. What else can you expect? And Bard, as he said earlier, she loves the track like this. She's got to be very hard. I think she'll win Dane Ripper.
OK, well, they've got Ebony Grove down there for me. That is, in fact, incorrect. I've gone for Falonte number 1, but I think Ebony Grove will be running on at the end of the race and hopefully a decent old Melbourne Cup trial from Graham Rogerson's horse there in race 7. On to race 8, the Salinger Stakes. 5 minutes after 4 is the starting time. 10, 12, 15 out here. So we've got a field of 14 to run, and we're going to have a look at Pengulu winning the Toorak Handicap at Caulfield.
Well, here he is, the grey horse on the outside. He's just charging to the lead now. I think Peter Hayes has got this horse flying at the moment. He's in the best form of his career. These two horses come right away from the field, and it's a very emphatic win. He'll be very hard to beat here again today. He does like the straight.
That was 1,600 metres. Yep. Today is 1,200, but you need a really strong horse to win up the straight, don't you?
For the 1,200-metre straight races, you need a horse that can run 1,600 metres. You don't want a horse that's just a pure sprinter.
OK, Jen, first of all, your tip?
Well, I'm going with Rock U. I thought his performances down the straight, you heard, were very, very good. And I think he's there with a strong chance.
Rich, Poetic King, he's an old marvel, isn't he?
He's an absolute old marvel. He looks like a pot-bellied pig, but he really can get to the line strongly. Draw on the right side of the track, too.
Let's see.
He's good, isn't he?
Poetic King for you?
Pig.
It's a little fat thing. It looks a bit like you.
Thanks very much.
Any danger of giving us your tip? Any danger of giving us your tip?
I like Poetic King. And actually, I did have Pengulu picked earlier, Pete, but then when the barriers went to the outside, I actually switched to Poetic King, and it was a terrific run the other day, Rich. It really was. And he's a great old horse, and the track like this will help him, but I think Poetic King will win the race.
The great thing about Let's See giving the tips is it takes him half an hour to getting around to it, and then he takes half an hour to tell you. I've gone for Poetic King as well in race 8. The last, the Yalambee Stud Stakes at 4:45. Scratchings here 1, 3, 6, 9 and 19. And we're going to have a look at Monet's Cove, which was given a pretty cheap run at Caulfield. Box seated here, dash clear, and won quite impressively, John.
Terrific run ride by Brian York, this horse. And, you know, Pete, I couldn't understand the odds a bit about this horse. 3 lengths away in the Epsom on the start before, comes out into a lower grade race, a Group 3 at Caulfield, draws a good gate, and they bet 10 to 1 about it. Monet's Cove, it was a very, very good run that day. I haven't tipped it to win. I've gone for number 7, Confiscate, because I do think Confiscate's a very good horse, but I do think Monet's Cove is the danger.
Monet's Cove.
Monet's. Well, how's it spelled?
It
doesn't matter.
Oh, so
Jen?
you've been to France.
I'm going with Confiscate too, Pete. I think he's the best horse in this race, and his last performance was very good. 5 wide most of the way. Couldn't get in. It wasn't the jockey's fault, and he's on him again today, Damien, so he's a good chance.
Richard Friedman.
Oh, I like Confiscate. I think you've got to stick with Confiscate. The form's good, and I think, as you say, Damien, give him a good ride today.
And Letsy's gone for Confiscate number 7, and I have made it unanimous. Confiscate, I think he's probably about the best of the day in the last race on the program. So, anything else you want to say?
Oh, really?
No, I think I've said enough.
I think you have said plenty.
Pete, I'd just like to know, can we trust him? He's got 2 runners in that race earlier today. With Poetic King
We can
and Rock
always trust Richard. Fancy even casting aspersions on him like that. Now, I'm going to make someone very happy here, because
there was... How did that thing grow on you? You never had that on earlier.
No, I put it on as I was coming up, the cornflower. It's part of Derby Day.
Growing out of his chest.
I'll just take over again, or try to anyway. The person I'm going to make very happy is the competition winner, the New Idea Melbourne Cup promotion, $5,000. Julie Gatt, I reckon you'd be jumping up and down on the spot at the moment, from Rockbank in Victoria. Julie, congratulations, you have won a cool $5 grand in cash from New Idea. And that's all to do with a competition that involved Milton Black. Let's continue to get his horoscopes and see if the day's going to be lucky for you.
Leo, tap dance to the track today. You're in fine form for picking a winner or two. And pick horses with names suggesting age, faraway places and relations. Lucky numbers 2, 3 and 5. Virgos, the bookies will be walking home after you collect your bets. Follow horses with names suggesting alphabet, confirmation and law. Lucky numbers 1, 5 and 9. Libra, back the favourites today. Don't listen to others and you'll scoop the pool. Look for horses with names suggesting quickness, gratitude and music. Lucky numbers 2, 4 and 8. Scorpio, you may be given a hot tip. Keep it to yourself. Take the plunge and blow the lot on horses with names suggesting authority, effort and facts. Lucky numbers 1, 5 and 7.
Things have not changed since 1991. Damien Oliver and Stephen King poured out the finish of another race, this time the Derby. King was successful, winning on Star of the Realm. Oliver, who finished second on Naturalism, protested unsuccessfully.
Star of the Realm draws clear and wins 2 lengths. Naturalism very unlucky second, third.
After the disappointment of the previous year, Damien Oliver was back in the spotlight on Derby Day 92. He gave a perfect display on Reading to land the prize money. Reading, just like Fire Oak 2 years before, was a maiden.
Derby, and a maiden's going to win the Derby again. Reading draws away to win by a length and a half. Second.
In the betting ring on Derby Day 93, one of the biggest plunges in a feature race took place. Mahogany, owned by Lloyd Williams and Kerry Packer, was backed for a fortune. And the gelding ran right up to that confidence with a stunning win.
Mahogany wins easily. Mahogany's won the Derby in a canter.
Certainly one of the most amazing Derby wins, Mahogany, back 4 years ago. 142 years old is the Amy Victoria Derby. Well, it's time for the opening ceremony now for the carnival, and here is the chairman of the Victoria Racing Club, Mr. David Burke.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you all to Flemington for the 137th running of the Foster's Melbourne Cup and a most exciting carnival. The committee and staff of the VRC wish you all a most enjoyable 4 days of racing. This event would not be possible without our 4 main sponsors who are lined up behind me. And as I mention their name, they'll receive their trophy. Mr. Brian Keane, Chief Executive, Amy. Mr. Tom Smith, Vice President, New Businesses, Carlton and United Breweries. Mr. Jamie Bartels, Executive General Manager Marketing, Crown Limited. Mr. Bill Needle, Director of Marketing and Sales, Chrysler Jeep Australia. We thank you all for the support you provide and also the support of all other sponsors to the 4 days of the Cup Carnival. The course is looking absolute picture, our famous Flemington roses in full bloom, and I must congratulate those responsible for presenting the course in such magnificent fashion. I wish everyone an enjoyable carnival and thank our members and the general public for the continuing support they show the Melbourne Cup every year. I hope you have a wonderful time.
And there we have the chairman of the Victoria Racing Club, Mr. David Burke, and the opening ceremony for the carnival, which is about to kick off in about some 25 minutes or so with the running of the first on Amy Victoria Derby Day. We'll take a break now, and very shortly we'll be talking to one of Victoria's and indeed Australia's greatest ever jockeys.
Sagittarius, crack the champagne, you're in for a bonza day, and look for horses with names suggesting acceleration, direction and determination. Lucky numbers 2, 4 and 6. Capricorn, you may hit the big time today and cause the tab to tumble. Be gusto with your bets, and horses with names suggesting accompaniment, royalty and time are your horses. And lucky numbers 1, 4 and 7. Aquarius, keep your eye on the 2nd and 3rd favourites today and follow horses with names suggesting amalgamation, congratulations and parade. Lucky numbers 3, 8 and 9. Pisces, it's a fun day in store with lots of surprises and a big win or two. Follow horses with names suggesting agreements, speed and value. Lucky numbers 2, 5 and 7. Now the best double-digit numbers for today are 11 and 14.
We're back with you at Flemington. It is a little overcast, but the wind is blowing and that's going to help the track condition, and plenty of people arriving already for AAMI Victoria Derby Day. Well, as I mentioned earlier, one of the busiest ladies on the course today is going to be our very own Sandra Sully, and she's already caught up with the first of her special guests in the Channel 10 marquee. Sandra?
Thank you, Pete. Yes, I have. Anthea Lucas, the fashion editor of the Sunday Age, joins me now. Welcome, Anthea.
Thanks, Sandra. How are you?
Well, thank you. Look, I understand you believe fashions are actually better on Derby Day than Cup Day. Tell me, why do you think that?
I think Derby Day is traditionally the smarter fashion day, and it has a lot to do with, I think, that it's one of the better race days. Melbourne Cup there's such a carnivale sort of outrageous atmosphere that people tend to wear a lot of colour and just go sort of crazy with their outfits. So it's a more demure, sophisticated sort of look, and predominantly black and white has been the traditional colours that are worn on Derby Day.
Well, what can we expect to see today? Because I'm not in the traditional colours, but will I be in or out of vogue?
Oh, you'll definitely be in. I think fashion is definitely much more feminine this season, so I think we're going to see a lot of floral dresses similar to what you're wearing.
Oh, good.
A lot of flowers, a lot of really pretty little sort of flippy skirts, perhaps with a jacket over the top to keep people warm, a little strappy sandal, and hopefully people will sort of stick to that even though the weather it's finding up, so we should be okay. I think that's what we'll be seeing.
All right, Anthea, thanks for joining us today, and good luck Cup Week. I hope you enjoy yourselves. I know you'll have plenty to look at as the fashion editor of the Sunday Age. This is a real treat for you. Thanks for joining us today. We've loved having you with us.
Thank you.
All right, it's back to you, Peter, with the panel, and I understand a very special guest.
Indeed we do, Sandra. Yes, a gentleman who left Melbourne in 1971. He went to Hong Kong just for a few weeks, really, and he's been there ever since. He's no stranger to Derby Day. He's won the race on 3 occasions. I'm very happy to say the Golden Boy is back in Melbourne. Jeff Lane, good to see you.
Peter, thank you. Great to be back.
You do have an affinity with this day, don't you? I think your first ride was in the Olympic year.
Well, it was on a horse called Olympic Fire, actually.
And you ran third?
It would have been the Olympic year, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was about a 16-year-old lad and ran third at a 100 to 1 chance. And sure, great memories. And then naturally leading on from there was the 61 on New Statesman, 62 Capellius, and 68 was Always There.
And I reckon the owner, Philippe Ishmael, might have had $1 or 2 on Always There when he won the Derby in 68.
Yeah, he was a great man, you know. He's a wonderful man, really. I always felt that he's probably arrived in Australia 20 years too early, because he wasn't such an enormous gambler, but he wasn't afraid to have a wage.
Being from Hong Kong, I think you know this lady sitting on your left.
Not only do I know Jenny, but I know her parents extremely well also, because with Kelly we had many winners. In fact, looking through the race book here, I see the old Hotham Handicap way back in 1960. Kelly and I won it with Nilarco.
Yes, he was a good horse too, Jeff, wasn't he? Jeff, you started early riding in the Derby. Were you nervous going out?
Never nervous. No? Never nervous. Johnny can tell you that. No, I think when you're young and you're going out in a big race like that, you don't even think about the race itself. You're so thrilled in having a ride, actually.
Now, Jeff, is it true that jacket used to belong to Elton John? No, that's not actually my question. My question is...
Well, after they put the makeup on, I felt, yes, maybe.
You've ridden winners all over the world. You've ridden in a lot of different countries. How does Australian racing, how does the racing here in Melbourne in the spring compare to those places?
I think it's very hard to compare, I suppose, because I did spend a lot of time riding throughout Europe, Germany I was based at mainly, and I must say that over there they do have some wonderful tracks in that. Yeah. But the carnival here itself, now like for instance the AAMI Derby, if I can give them a plug, because they are supporting me also, the AAMI, which is very, very good.
It's hard to beat the colour and the grandeur here, isn't it?
It's the buzz, and well, it's becoming, well, it's always been, worldwide, but even Cup Day now is going to be televised direct to Hong Kong. We're taking in 4 races there, and then the Jockey Club are going to continue on with a program at Happy Valley.
Yeah, Jeff, you rode 3 Derby winners. The Cup, did you ever have any luck in the Cup? Not, I'd see you haven't won the Cup, but did you ever have any luck in the Melbourne Cup?
No, unfortunately, the Cup eluded me, I suppose, but I think I had about 8 rides in the Melbourne Cup. Closest I finished was I ran 3rd one year on Dorligeri, and also 4th. And he was another great horse which I used to ride, and admittedly he was not a true 2-miler, and we hit the front here at the clock tower one day, and I thought, well, this is it. This is it, but no, not to be.
You're the ambassador for the Derby. What's your tip?
I'm going to stay with not Sherbet, but if there is a little bit of give in the track, horse number 4, Gold Guru, whom I believe that Craig Williams, is he an apprentice?
Yes,
he
he's
is.
a good...
Is he? 20 so a little bit of give in the track, number 4.
Jeff, great to see you back in Melbourne. Enjoy the day, I know you will.
You bet, sure will.
Jeff Lane joining us here on the panel, and always great to see one of Victoria's and indeed Australia's favourite jockeys back with us at Cup time. Well, I said Tim Bailey was going to be out and about today, and he is wandering around the racecourse, and I think we might be able to catch up with him at his thorny best.
Well, folks, there's no doubt about it. Sometimes you've just got to stop and smell the roses. And if you're at Flemington, that's a mighty fine idea. You've come to the right place, because it's not only the course of history, Terry Freeman, but it is the course of world-famous roses, and you're the Ed Greenthumb gardener.
That's right.
How many roses on track today?
9,200.
And you've seen these come up since they were knee-high to a grasshopper?
Yeah, well, we planted these when they were sticks. There's nothing of them, but they look really good today.
It must be a nerve-wracking business. Obviously, these roses are meant to be at their best for Cup Day. You must go through some nervous nights if they're not quite coming up to expectations.
Well, we were very nervy a fortnight ago. We didn't think they were going to make it, but we've been feeding them every 4 days for the last 2 weeks, and they're right on target, most of them.
So forget the Freedmans, let's talk Mr. Freeman, because he trains the roses, not the horses, and they are as important because Flemington is just famous for its floral display, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's much a part of Cup Week as the Cup itself. Like, everybody knows that the Cup's on the first Tuesday in November, and they just naturally expect the roses to be out.
You've done a great job. A pleasure to be in the Rose Garden with you. Stopping to smell the roses, this is Tim Bailey in a far safer place than the betting ring. Back to you.
Yes, but I think you'll find your way to the betting ring at some stage, Tim. And there is the scene. Out on the lawns, a huge crowd rolling into Flemington. Amy Victoria Derby Day. And shortly, they'll be watching the horses in the mounting yard for the first race. And we'll be doing that after this break. Yes, it's all about to start. The runners are in the mounting yard for the first race of the carnival, the Carbine Club Stakes. 11:25 is the starting time, 1,600 metres the journey. There are the famous colours of Saintly on Kerra's Attack, number 15. But let's take a look at the runners now. And number 1, Major Victory, the rider here, Greg Childs. And Jen, we've already said, very impressive at Caulfield.
Yes, I think if you go back to his start 2 runs ago too, Pete, he might have just jarred up on that track at Randwick on that occasion. Up to the 1,600 here, I do think it's going to suit him, and he's got to be left there with a good each-way chance.
If you give Major Victory a chance, you've got to give Gullible a chance. Number 2 to be ridden by Darren Gauchi, finished only a half length behind Major Victory at Caulfield, but he's got 57 kilos and barrier 15, which is not going to help him that much.
No, probably not, but if he does get any sort of luck, he's a real tryer, this horse, so he will put in, there's no doubt about that, and he doesn't mind a bit of give in the ground either, so I've left him there with a chance.
Number 3 is Antiquity. He's got a bit of a boom on him, this horse. Wayne Harris, great to see him back in the saddle, great to see him back at Flemington. Antiquity's had 4 starts for 4 wins. He's a winner on a dead track. I suppose it's a matter of whether he handles the going here.
Yes, he's progressed very nicely, this horse. I liked his last win at Randwick, and the start before that he was given every possible chance, but he still scored there as well. Different jockey here today, Wayne Harris. He has won on him before, but he's there with the place chance in the race.
There's your tip, Jen. Number 6, Bellbrook. Len Beasley is the rider here for Graham Rogerson, and this horse finished second at Moonee Valley and was flashing home at the end of the race after being held up on the turn.
Yes, and quite wide throughout there too, Peter, so I think maybe he's got to be left there with a good, strong chance in this. The 1,600 metres, I think, is ideal for him.
Bluebird the Word, number 8, to be ridden by Brett Preble. Nicely in with 51.5 kilos here. Has drawn barrier number 12 and has only had the 3 starts and has won 2 of them.
Yes, and a little bit of slow and heavy track form there as well. So definitely one for Tim Gossage to have a look at in the mounting yard, see what's happening there, because he is a New Zealander in the John Wheeler stable.
Number 10 is Strike Force, and Brent Stanley is the rider. We spoke to Brent a bit earlier, trained by Jim Mason. He's my selection in the race. He was interfered with a couple of 100 metres after the start, Jen, at Caulfield, lost his spot and did a pretty good job to run on from there.
Yes, he did get a couple of little prats in that race as well, Pete, and I thought it was a good effort. He went to the line quite well there, and he has one on the slow track, so he must be there with a strong chance in this race.
Modern General is in the strong stable of David Hall, who now trains here at Flemington. Brent Thompson is the rider, and finished fourth behind Regal Ruler at Moonee Valley at its last appearance.
Yes, carried 58 kilos on that occasion, so I think better suited with the 51, and the 1600 metres should also suit. So he's probably there with some value chance in the race.
It's a big step up in class for number 14, Super Sun, with Vlad Durick in the saddle, a maiden winner at Geelong last start, but you liked what you saw?
Well, I didn't mind it. He sat 3 and 4 wide first up at Geelong, and I thought it was a pretty good effort there. Might just be on the improve and probably not the worst at odds.
OK, so sum up the first race for us, Jen, on Amy Victoria Derby Day.
Well, I'm going with number 6 here, Bellbrook. I put him in to win from number 1, Major Victory, and 10, Strike Force.
Well, I like number 10, Strike Force, and I think Antiquity and Bellbrook are the other chances, but Major Victory's in there too. It's an open race. Let's have a look at the tote figures for the first as they go to the gates, and here's Dan Malicki.
Thank you, Peter. The favourite is Antiquity, number 3. It is showing $4.20 for the win and $2.60 for the place, and those dividends are for the $1. Major Victory is 1, 2 Gullible. They're both in the market. Blue Blood and Outsider, number 4. 6 Bellbrook at 15. Likewise, number 7 Tricove. The New Zealander Bluebird the Word is right in commission at $5.70. Don't Say Goodbye, 62. Strike Force at $6.20. Modern General at 26 is half that price on track. Obscenic, one of the bolters. Desert Light well in commission, and then we've got Super Sun, Kerry's Attack, and Matt Soika is the rank outsider, Pete, at over 200 to 1 on the tote.
And pretty big pools already, Dan, in excess of $200,000 in the win pool. That's where they start at the 1600 over by the river. There'll be boats coming past, getting a good look at them as the people arrive at Flemington, and they've got 450 metres of the famous Flemington Straight in the Carbine Club Stakes. Runners are on their way to the stalls. We'll check in with Tim Gossage in the betting ring after this break. The opening race of the Carnival, it's all about to happen. Runners about to open up the Carnival in the Carbine Club Stakes. They're at the barrier and will move in shortly. Number 5, Mighty Impulse, is the scratching. We're left with a field of 15. You saw what the tote punters have made of the first event. Let's go down to the betting ring and find out how much activity there's been on the opening race with Tim Gossage.
Thanks very much, Peter. Well, Antiquity, the unbeaten Sydney sider, is the favourite. Has got the drifts, though, has dropped out a point. It's each way odds the field. Major Victory also considered a chance. And as Dan said before the break, Modern General is $26 on the tote. You can get less than half that in the betting ring. It's been kept very, very safe. And some Derby news. Encounter will open up a pronounced favourite for the Amy Derby.
OK, just before you go, Tim, what about Bluebird the Word? Jen mentioned you might be able to keep an eye on the fluctuations for that particular horse. What can you report?
Very similar to the price on the tote. It's about $6 on the tote. You can get similar to that down here. Has been a bit of specking for that. Is one of the surprise short horses in the race.
Tim Gossage with that report from the betting ring. And there you can see Gullible in the famous John Hawkes colours, and he's walking around behind the gates along with the other 14 horses. Clark's of the course over there, and here is the tote update as they stand with Major Victory, $8.30 and $2.80. Remarkable odds really for a horse that was so impressive, but as you heard Tim say, it's a very wide open betting affair with Antiquity at $4.40 and $2.40, the favourite at the moment. Big odds for Blue Blood. Mighty Impulse is a scratching, of course. Bellbrook, which Jen fancied in the race, has got good each way odds, $14.70 and $4.40. Tricove wasn't a hopeless effort at Caulfield. Bluebird the Word, surprisingly short, as Tim said, round about the $6 mark. You can have big odds about Don't Say Goodbye. Strike Force, the one I liked in the race, $6.10. Modern General showing $24. Obscenic over the $100 mark. Desert Light, number 13, is in the betting at $10.30. Super Sun, $47. Kerry's Attack in the saintly colours, $18.90, and Matsuka showing $242. And you can see there that there's something a little bit different about the Flemington Carnival this year, and that is the starting gates that will be used. The old famous blue stalls that we're so used to seeing the field jump out of in the Melbourne Cup have been in operation for some 39 years, but wear and tear has caught up with them eventually, as it has done with John Letts, who is no longer with us on the panel at the moment. but for different reasons than the starting stalls disappearing. And they'll be using the new stalls for the entire carnival here at Flemington, so around about 20 minutes after 3 on the first Tuesday in November, it's going to be a somewhat different sight, watching the field jump away from the Melbourne Cup. Well, up behind the binoculars and keeping an eye on those gates, Dan Malicki and Gary Willits in the commentary box again. Gentlemen, good morning to you.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning again to you. And Gary, new starting stalls as well, and they're just about set for a first